Well, hello there. Welcome to my lair. Welcome back if you are my familiar. This is reset day. At least it is for me while I am recording this video. It is Tuesday, December 12th, and I just logged on my Augvoker to check out what I have in the Great Vault and thoughts that go into making my final decision, because we have many options today. And also, as a little treat, I've been including a little bit more in these videos, which is to talk about not only the wins from the game for the Great Vault, but also things that we consider wins in the real world. So that means you have a chance to share what you are grateful for from last week. I suppose I could compare it to writing in a gratitude journal, but instead it's in a video format. So you are more than welcome to actually write through a comment on this video about your wins and what you are grateful for. So let's get back to the Great Vault portion of the video. I am on my current main. This is the first time that I've been solely playing a character aside from my Resto Druid. I've been a Resto Druid since Battle for Azeroth. That was several expansions ago. And this season I started with an Augmentation Evoker for multiple reasons. It's just basically a different role for me to learn and take a break from healing Mythic Plus just for now. I intend on getting back to that, but time will tell when that will happen, because I don't want to overwhelm myself. That's basically the major reason, is that I overwhelmed myself with doing Mythic Plus keys with pickup groups, pugs, on my Druid, always aiming for that 3k IO every season with pugs, and I got super exhausted. And even though I did reach 3k IO the first season, that is what caused my burnout, and I really needed to take a break. And I actually did take a break from the game. I didn't play for like half a year, and instead of running into that issue of me not even playing and therefore not even creating content, I want to take it easy a little bit while still enjoying the current content of the game. Yeah, so that's why I'll be opening the Great Vault on this character, hopefully trying to manifest something in the vault by focusing on the pieces that still need to be replaced. So for instance, last week I hoped for a new pair of bracers, and which I did. I got this in the Great Vault last week, but I also hoped for a new trinket, because my trinkets are champion track. So that means I can't upgrade higher than 476 item level. So anything that really I have champion level gear, I'd like to replace at least those. So that would be my trinkets. I don't think I want to replace my Bellorelos Suncaller trinket. That one's pretty good even on champion level. But if I do get it on the hero track, I will definitely replace this one, because it is a very neat trinket. Plus it has raw intellect on it. I've been using this trinket called Corrupted Starlight. I believe this is from Darkheart Thicket. And I was using this trinket here, the Balefire branch from Waycrest Manor. I was using that, and that meant that I was equipping 2 unused trinkets, especially if you open with Breath of Eons. If you're familiar with Augmentation Evoker, Breath of Eons is when we fly in the air, and it has an interaction with the players that have Ebon Might, and it extends Ebon Might. So I like to pair it with a big boost of intellect, which makes it even more powerful. But sometimes I just want something that's on equip, and this one is not the best trinket, but it does give me mastery, which increases the uptime of my prescience, and it does do a little bit of a damage. Sometimes it accounts for I think like 5% of my overall damage. This trinket right here accounts for like 15%, 17% of my overall damage sometimes. I don't know, it's not always like that for a key. Basically, I would like to replace this one with the Nimue trinket, which is similar to Balefire. So it's gonna give me a on-use stat increase and damage as well. Looking at my other gear, I seem to be okay. I seem to have a lot of the Bis items. I have my Bis necklace that I finally got from Darkheart Thicket. That is a good necklace to have. And I would say in terms of the appropriate stats, I'd probably want a new cloak and probably the Darkheart Thicket ring would be a nice upgrade as well. So that one's the one with the very high mastery. I haven't been able to see it. I'm wearing the other one called Band of Twisted Bark. Basically prepping my mind for what I would like to choose in the Great Vault. So let's actually open it and see if anything was manifested. Alrighty, look at that. So the first on the list already, the Bellorelos Suncaller trinket on heroic track. So that is already a nice increase. That can be upgraded to 483. If this is the way to go, I'm already loving this. Just a little bit more item level on it, you know. It's not myth track, but it is it's a fabulous trinket. Okay, so then we have a 2-hand staff on hero track. Very nice stats. One that I have is a beautiful staff. I will probably not replace it for a while unless I have Fyrak mace or have the same staff that I'm wearing on myth track. So I probably won't be replacing the one that I have. We have another staff. Okay, this is the crit and high mastery. This is actually a really good one, but like I said, the one that I'm wearing currently is just fine. So that goes for the raid vault items. Next up are the dungeon options. So we have headpiece on myth track. I would only be gaining a few item levels from this, right? 49, I believe it goes up to once you upgrade. And although I would like to have everything on myth track eventually, you know, especially if I continue to do keys at key level 20 or above, I'll be eventually having everything on myth track. But this is missing a socket, so mine is already a good one. Next, we have a one-hander mace. Crit burst. Again, the weapon I'm equipping is irreplaceable, at least for a while. And finally, we have the leggings on myth track. But I did end up crafting these ally leggards last week, so this isn't going to be replaced. It's a very good pair of pants for augmentation, so I will not be replacing these pants. For now, it seems like I know what I need to choose, and that is going to be this trinket, the Bellorelos trinket. Even if I'm pretty set on what to choose from my vault, I still like to check out what the Sims say, so I will use my Ask Mr. Robot tool, see what it recommends. So if you're not familiar with this, I have been using this tool called Ask Mr. Robot to optimize any of the gear that I have on this character, because fortunately, at least the last time I checked, raid bots does not really work on augmentation of Augvoker, so I use this tool instead. I do have the paid version of Ask Mr. Robot, but it's $12 a year, so it's not super expensive. That's $1 a month just to have access to all the tools, basically, so you're not really limited by what it offers. Raid bots also has a paid option, so you don't have to wait forever for things to render, basically, and you have more combinations. I still decided to buy the yearly plan for Ask Mr. Robot because it's not the worst price. $12 US a year is pretty reasonable for the convenience of helping you make decisions with your gear, because we do spend our valuable time in World of Warcraft, and sometimes it helps to have a little bit of assistance with where your time is going by choosing the optimal rewards. I will import the script that I included, and again, I'll be going down to Upgrade Finder and click on Great Vault, and that way it updates what I have in the Great Vault for this week, and I'll make sure that everything here is selected. Find upgrades. Okay, So this right here tells me that if I selected the headpiece and use my catalyst charge on it, it will give me almost a 2% increase. We have the one-hand mace, we have one of the two-handed staff, the one with the crit mastery, and then we have the high haste lower mastery staff. We have Bellarello Suncaller trinket here as the last one, even though it's going to be at a 483 item level. So we have at least 50 intellect increase. We have 638,000 fire damage. So a little bit of an increase. It seems like it's recommending you to choose something you don't want. And I guess we can talk about why you would want to go against a tool like this. So for the very top recommendation that that we have here on this list, being the headpiece that is said to be catalyzed into our tier, we have some good stats. We lose a little bit of mastery from the raw helmet that we have, but we definitely want to have the helmet catalyzed because the pants that I'm wearing are not tier pieces, they're crafted, so we can't have crafted gear turn into tier. So I will have to always have a headset, one of my tier options. I already have my 4-piece and 6 item levels, meaning we have 938 intellect, while the one that I'm equipping is 887 intellect with some other stats increases. So that's around 50 intellect or so. I mean, by the numbers, it does seem like it's the better choice just to have the myth level headpiece, but I don't know. I still don't feel like it's right to do it, to select it, because the trinket here, this trinket right here, is from Tindril Heroic, and it is not always guaranteed that I get that boss down every week. I mean, I got it down last week, but who knows if I'm gonna kill it or whatever. It already seems like a pretty rare drop, and a lot of people roll on it. So when it comes to stuff like this, I will probably prioritize getting trinkets first before upgrading my other pieces, even though that's probably backwards for a lot of people. Might disagree with that. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Would you rather take the headpiece, for instance, and then catalyze it? Or would you rather have a new trinket, the same trinket on a higher item level? So from 476 to 483, would you rather have that instead? So I think I'm going to take a moment to myself, lean back, and think about it. If this is the decision I want to make, because like I said earlier, right? It is a game, but at the same time, we do spend our energy, our time, all valuable resources that we cannot really get back ever. The time that you spend doing things just goes into the void, and you might as well try to find some value in the time that you spent and your energy. My energy is completely probably the most important resource, because I do have issues with fatigue. I want to be happy about the decision that I make, even though it's just a game. It's just pixels. Who cares? The stuff is going to be replaced. Blah, blah, blah. You know, the fact that I struggle with health issues, it does feel really nice to have something at the end. This is part of my week that I look forward to. So, especially since last week I ran the heroic raid, and I got like nothing drop. I lost a lot of my bis rolls to other people in the raid, and we don't really have a system set in place to prioritize anyone in particular. It's just basically leaving it up to the game's RNG system. And considering that I didn't get anything from the raid last week, so in my heart, I would go with the trinket. I'll probably not be able to kill this boss on Mythic, and then again, I run into the issue of rolling against a bunch of other people. Same goes for rolling against the myth track headpiece, but again, that's on Tindril. This is kind of spooky that the two things that I'm conflicted with have something to do with Tindril Sage Swift, but I think I'm gonna go with my gut and choose the trinket. Not to mention, this trinket dropped last week and I lost the roll, so this is probably my chance to get it. Sometimes I have to make some hard decisions. in games when we account for the time, the time and energy that we spend. With that in mind, I think that trinkets have a higher value. Saying, because a lot of people use this trinket, and I would just like to have it on the highest item level that I can. For the time being, we have to make our decision. I feel like I'm on the show You Are the Weakest Link. Anyone remember that show? This is sad because I wanted to upgrade something to 489 today. My other best trinket, the Balefire branch, could go to 489. So if that dropped, then I would maybe choose that one. But instead, I think I'm gonna choose this one. I'll be choosing Bellarellos the Suncaller and upgrade it to 43 this week. So that will be my decision. And we're gonna have a lovely keystone at 24, and we'll see what that is as well. So let's get that trinket. We have the Everbloom. That's a spicy one. Fortify and Entangling Bowstring. Now that the Great Vault item has been chosen, let's move forward and talk about some wins from last week in general. So the wins from last week, I usually include something from the game and something from my real life. You can include what your wins from last week are as well in the comments. So I'll go first. So something that I consider a win from last week, I think I have a few from the game. So yesterday I logged on this character, and the last time I logged on before that was Wednesday when I raided. I just got really tired from the raid because we have raid at the beginning of the week. Tuesday and Wednesday we have like 3 hours of raiding, and I get really tired. Just not gonna lie, after an hour my brain starts to shut down. I took a bit of a break from Wednesday to Monday, and that meant that I wasn't able to get all my vault keys done. I was able to get all my vault keys completed, even though that was hell because most of them were pugged, and I was doing like 22s, 23s. I wanted to get like 20s done just for the vault, but I figured because a lot of my tyrannical keys were like 18s, I wanted to kind of increase my IO, at least for tyrannical, before the week was over. So I ended up getting around 100 IO yesterday, so I think that's a win, and I was able to get 24 timed pugs as well. And it was a black cold, but I was having some issues in that key. Like for instance, one of my abilities, my eruption, which is like the main ability that I use, it on one of the fights, the last fight, it completely stopped working. Like you can see it flash right now. I'm using the keybind for it. I have to target something that can be attacked, of course, for it to work, but I was using it and it just, I don't know what was going on. I just couldn't, it was not working. It was very bizarre. I ended up having to open up my spellbook and put it back on my action bar, and it was really strange. I lost a lot of uptime on my Ebonite because, you know, you have to use eruption to increase the uptime on it, the buff. So that was really weird. I was like super confused. There's some issues I was dealing with, but despite all that, I was happy that we timed it. So I'm kind of glad I got that out of the way, because I got a 24 on my IO now, so I can start focusing on 24s. So I would say that that's a win in the game, but actually another win in the game is a little bit of a surprise for you, especially those of you who have been following me for quite a while. So let's fast forward to what I'm about to do. This is the magic of editing. Be right back. So this is my little surprise. Guys, a lot of you may know that I am a Resto Druid main, and I have been taking a break from Resto Druid healing due to health issues, because believe it or not, it's very stressful for me. And once I have enough stress to deal with, my body just shuts down. I get sick, I get incredibly tired, and I just lose my motivation basically to log on, which is what happened. But yesterday, as I was doing some questing in the new zone, I have this add-on that I'm hiding in the back actually called Call to Arms. This is a really cool add-on, because you know how you go on dungeons and raids tool, and then you, like for instance, you'll go on the dungeon finder, and sometimes you have a bonus reward here on the side, which is a bag of augment runes, including a pretty good chunk of gold for completing it. And it's not only available for the dungeon finder, it's also for the raid finder. So you'll have like anywhere from like 1 to 3 augment runes for instance. So that could be a pretty good way to make some gold. And I've been doing that on my Evoker. I've been farming some gold that way, signing up to little dungeon finder depending on the role that it's searching for. So let's say dungeons, people who are trying to do some dungeons, they're waiting way too long for a healer, so the little healer call to arms pops up. And sometimes I take that role on my Evoker even because it's like, you know, a heroic or something like that. It's easy enough, right? So because I was on this character, I saw one of the call to arms pop up. The LFR raid wanted a healer, so I'm like, all right, it's LFR. What could go wrong, right? We can start a little somewhere, right? So I basically did that. I signed up as healer, got in, got my boss kills, even got a new belt. It's LFR, but it's still a higher item level than the things that I have from season 2, so I'll take that. So what I'm really trying to say here is that I kind of took the more casual approach of gearing up a character. This was my main, so any other season I would have been on top of it and have this character be doing 20s by week 1. Usually that's how it is. But I decided to step away, and eventually, I don't know how many weeks are we into the new patch. Eventually I started doing a little bit of content, and I had to accept the fact that I will probably not be jumping straight into 20s on this character, even though this was my main for a very long time. I kind of felt guilty for not maining this character in this season because I feel like I'm so far behind right now, you know? And that brought my motivation down a little bit to come back to this character, because every week that passes by, every week that I'm just more tired after doing keys, after doing raid on the Evoker, as much as I want to do keys on the Evoker because I find like that's probably a less stressful way for me to enjoy the game. At that point I still had feeling inside of me where I'm like, oh my god, what have I done? I abandoned my resto druid. This is the character that a lot of people know me for, so I just felt like an imposter. I guess you can say that. It was like a little bit of an imposter syndrome, because imposter syndrome usually applies to people who have success and they have like this self-doubt of like, oh my gosh, I don't deserve this success or this like spotlight. So I don't think that applies to my situation, but I feel like an imposter where I'm playing another character that I'm not used to playing, and another character that is not my main. And that way I felt like this is my main. What am I doing? Why am I letting this character rot? It's on a different server. Even that requires extra effort for me to log out from my Evoker and then switch my server and then log back in. That is like how fragile my energy is. It just takes a lot of my energy just to even log on, you know, as crazy as that sounds. It's just my life. So yeah, I'm just being very real with you again. I'm admitting a lot of flaws that I have, even though there are things that I can't really control. So the point is that I really had to get over a little bit of a struggle, internal struggle. So essentially I had to come to terms with accepting that I'm not the other content creators. I'm no longer able to keep more than one character geared and ready to switch from like day to day. Today I'll play my Evoker, tomorrow I'll do keys on my druid, or even on the same day, you know, doing the same level content, say like doing 23s on both characters. I used to be able to do that back in Shadowlands. I had my Resto druid running like 24s, and then my Resto Shaman running around the same level. And even before that, I was able to do 20s on all healers before Evoker was added, so all the healer classes. I don't know if I consider that impressive, because at the time I didn't know too many people who were able to multi-class doing the same content. There's several out there. At this time in my life, I think I just really have to accept I'm not going to be like that all the time. In fact, I'm probably never going to be able to do something like that again, as much as I want to. It's probably like a risk to take as someone who creates content in this niche of World of Warcraft keys. But there are also people who end up playing only one character the entire time, and that's perfectly fine too. There are a lot of great content creators who just play one character and that's what they're known for. In my case, it was Resto Druid, right? Or like at least the Dragonflight portion. So I know I'm being a little bit dramatic here by making it seem like I'm mourning my character's death or something like that. My druid isn't like dead, you know? She's here. I'm on her right now, obviously. But it does mean that I'm not going to be pushing as hard on her as I was in the past. So for those of you who have been in my situation or you'll ever be in my situation, the message here is to really be open to taking a step back a little bit and not push yourself for the sake of making content or the sake of trying to prove you're good at the game or anything like that. You don't have to like push yourself just for the sake of getting IO on all your characters. It's okay to take it slow. Like for instance, I'm starting from the bottom. I'm doing LFR, Heroics. I didn't even touch Mythics on this character yet this season. So with that said, I ended up pulling enough bosses from LFR to get LFR level Great Vault items. And that's okay. Let's finally open the vault. My very, very first vault of season 3 on my Resto Druid. Even though it's LFR version. I could use anything really, so I didn't really have to go through the process of like manifesting. I could use anything. Actually, I wasn't able to get 7 bosses killed, so I only have 2 options from LFR. So we have wrists and a belt from LFR, and then we have another belt from dungeons, 441. They seem to be on the same veteran track, so it doesn't really matter which one I choose. But because I already have a belt from LFR yesterday, I already have 2 of these to say no to. The one that I have is pretty decent, so it looks like I just got a new pair of racers. Easy. I didn't have to really think about this one. I didn't have to sim anything. Yeah, so I'll just pick that up. So I don't have a key or anything because I didn't do any keys. But I just figured that I'd rather do the LFR maybe every week at least if I don't do any other type of raiding, because raiding already drains me so much, so I just won't have the energy to raid on both characters. But yeah, that was a little bit of a surprise, just to let people know that I still intend on playing this character, and if I ever crave heart palpitations while healing some dungeons, I will be back on this character because I have a lot of fun on Resto Druid. Alright, so that was a long-winded in-game set of wins, and finally let's talk about some real-life wins. So I don't really know if this counts, but it is outside of the game, even though it's still game related, so I think it might count. Last week, while I was taking a break for keys, I don't know if you can hear it, but it actually started raining in the game, so we'll zoom into the sky. This is actually a perfect segue for my next topic. I decided to give you a more aesthetic view. And speaking of aesthetic, something that I was able to accomplish last week was really a plan that I've had for a few years now, but I wasn't able to get around to it until last week. So I finally started a little project. So what I did last week is probably a little strange for some of you, considering that the content that I have on this channel is our fast-paced footage of me doing Mythic Plus dungeons. And because of the nature of Mythic Plus is really you're just rushing through the dungeon. You don't really have a chance to smell the roses or look at the beautiful artwork on the walls or, you know, stuff like that. We're so focused on doing the mechanics and trying to get to the end, right? We often take for granted the time that went into designing the dungeon, at least aesthetically. And I'm someone who really appreciates aesthetics. I do have a background in arts, in fine arts. Not only do I draw, paint in the traditional arts, I also do photography. I do landscape photography mostly. I do some macro photography as well, depending on the subject. And I also did some astrophotography back in the day. When I was in college, I ended up studying planetary science, and a lot of it was like astronomy related, so I took a lot of pictures of the stars and the moon and things like that, so that's fun. But point is, I have a history in capturing and appreciating natural beauty, even man-made beauty, like interior design and architecture, costume design, things like that. So I decided to take that passion of mine and apply it to World of Warcraft and other games that I enjoy. So what I did was I went to all the dungeons that we have in a Mythic Plus pool, and I spent hours staring at every nook and cranny of the dungeon, getting the perfect frame of each scene and just being immersed in the environment that I'm in, because I really value these dungeons more than just like a little bit of a thrill. And although I do consider myself quite the vampire, especially after being consumed by the thirst for the thrill of doing Mythic Plus, I also take a moment to appreciate the visual aspect of the dungeons as well. So that is what I wanted to pay tribute to, and I ended up making some videos to showcase the aesthetically pleasing aspects of these dungeons. And to really enhance the experience, I ended up curating playlists specifically based on the atmosphere and the vibe of each dungeon. So I have a few videos up now. A completely new set of songs that are not present in World of Warcraft, but things that remind me of these dungeons. So don't be surprised if you listen to one of these playlists and you don't recognize any of the music, but you might be able to kind of get the vibe that I was going for. I feel like they match the scenery. I just wanted to share with you one of my other hobbies, and that is to listen to music. I love music so much. It means the world to me. I think musically, I dream musically. I enjoy listening, I enjoy creating when I have a chance. This is my way to share another passion of mine. So if you're really curious, I do have a page opened of the playlist that I created. The one inspired is one that is inspired by Dawn of the Infinite. So it has music that reminds me of like beautiful, epic, emotional music that you would associate with time travel. For instance, I titled this video Riding the Sand Dragons of Time, and it's a 1-hour epic emotional playlist inspired by Dawn of the Infinite. When I finished recording the footage for this video ended up being 3 hours. It's just me progressing through the dungeon and finding the perfect composition of items that I want to capture in the scene. And also, you know, I had to kill things along the way. I'm on my like 440 druid doing heroic Dawn of the Infinite by myself, and it took a little bit of time for me to kill things. It took over 3 hours. Just me trying to make footage for this video. And another video that I launched the other day was the one for Darkheart Thicket, and I named it Wandering Through a Dark Enchanted Forest, which is really what it is. If you're familiar with the lore of this dungeon, it's just a corrupted group of druids being consumed by the Emerald Nightmare, and we have a lot of dark scenery in this beautiful forest, some spooky vibes, and so I gave it an enchanting elven vibe with some spooky elements. So like, for instance, like this lantern here is being entangled by this like creepy moving thing. So it's like, oh, we're in this magical forest, but I'm kind of scared, but at the same time it has like a very mesmerizing feel to it. So I'll give you a little preview, but I do have a few more that I plan on releasing this week. So we have Ataldazar, Cursed Manor, Thorn of the Tides, and I still have a few more that I need to edit this week. I already have all the footage. I spent a lot of time last week, so hopefully I'll be able to get all the playlists released. And what I'm going to do with these playlists is include them as background music for all the future dungeon runs that I post. So that is just an introduction for what I've been up to last week outside of the game, even though it was actually in the game. But it was a little bit more about the stuff that I enjoyed doing outside of World of Warcraft. So if you were curious about why I'm posting these all of a sudden, or just things that I would like to do as we get more content, maybe. So for like the next expansion, I'll be doing the same, compiling music and then go into each dungeon. I want to create a balance on my channel where there's chaos involved in Mythic Plus. There's like a lot of clutter on the screen and like audio alerts interrupt, you know, things like that. I want to balance it with other side of things where it's not congested with that kind of clutter, really, like the UI clutter and the craziness of the content that I do. So that this gives me a chance to share what I love, and hopefully you are able to enjoy some of the things that I put my time into. So go ahead and check out any of those playlists if you like listening to music, if you want to have something in the background when you study or whatever. I'll be having some of that on my channel as well. So yeah, I was able to open the Great Vault on not one but two characters, and I got to share some of my wins from last week, and I invite you now to share what you are grateful for from last week. And I hope that if you haven't opened up your vault that you get something great, and don't forget to find value in how you spend your time and energy in this game. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next one.